Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, everyone. I'm Leanne Young here in the CBC Newsroom in Vancouver. Here's what you need to know right now. One of the most popular events in the summer in Vancouver has been cancelled indefinitely. For 3 decades, the Honda Celebration of Lights has brought hundreds of thousands of people to English Bay for free fireworks, but organizers say it can't afford to run the festival anymore.
Rising production costs, the loss of federal funding, reduced provincial support, and insufficient private sector investment have created a funding gap we could not bridge.
The festival was facing a $1 million shortfall from its $3 million budget. Organizers say it's too late for 2026, even if someone were to step up with funding, but they are still hoping a longer-term solution can be found for the years ahead. And Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim is defending his freeze on municipal property taxes in the city. Council supported the so-called zero means zero budget for 2026 in a 7-4 vote yesterday. The mayor was back on the early edition this morning, responding to questions about how a property tax freeze would benefit renters.
These costs, property taxes, cost to maintain homes, what have you, get pushed onto renters, either through increased rents or basically less maintenance on homes, so the homes that are rented out aren't as good, or people stop renting out places because the economics don't work.
Right.
All of which affects renters. And so we are taking a view on short-term and long-term to make sure that we create an environment where there's great rental stock.
The budget also promises $50 million more for the Vancouver Police Department. It includes more than a 10% cut to the city's arts, culture, and sustainability departments. And a 24-year-old man has been charged with the murder of his sister-in-law. The incident happened last month on October 26, when Delta police got reports of a crash and a subsequent vehicle fire that's on the 7,000 block of Highway 17. 30-year-old Mandeep Kaur from Delta died on scene. Her brother-in-law, Gurjot Singh Kara, was arrested and charged with indignity with human remains a week and a half later. And yesterday, he was charged with second-degree murder. Kara remains in custody and is expected in court next month. And the final report from an independent review of Clean BC, the province's climate plan, has just been released. It was led by climate policy experts and informed by feedback from communities throughout the province. The report makes 7 recommendations, including accelerating clean electricity production and making it easier for British Columbians to cut energy bills and climate pollution. When asked about how LNG projects fit into the climate plan, one of the experts say the math is inescapable.
Emissions would go up in that sector at the same time that we're making progress in reducing emissions in other sectors. And that means the sum total of that is emissions province-wide would not be going down to the same extent or could be actually going up. The decisions around LNG are really economic decisions that have a climate dimension to them. And so we've made recommendations in terms of how emissions from LNG can be minimized.
The recommendations to minimize emissions include making methane regulations more stringent and continuing with the industrial carbon price. And that's it for me for now. Thanks for watching all morning. I'm Leanne Young. Stay here. BC Today with Michelle Elliott is next. And Michelle will be asking for your thoughts on the cancellation of the Honda Celebration of Lights. Is it a loss to the community? And how should something like this be funded? Don't go anywhere. She will be coming up right after this.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. A summertime tradition in Vancouver will be no longer. The Celebration of Light Fireworks Festival is canceled indefinitely. We'll talk to the West End Business Improvement Association, and we're taking your calls on the loss and how these events should be funded. Plus, Kitimat wants you, even though Kitimat isn't for everyone, according to a cheeky new recruitment ad. The mayor will join us and call in with your own stories of moving to a new community in BC. That's after 12:30. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. And you can call us now on our top story. The Celebration of Light Fireworks Festival, which has brought millions of people to Vancouver's English Bay over the past 3 decades, says it can't go ahead without long-term government and private sector support. So is this a loss to the community? How important are these public events, and how should they be funded? Call us right now. Our number is 604-669-3733. That's 604-669-3733. You can also dial 1-800-825-5950 or hit pound 690. The festival's executive producer, Paul Runnels, spoke on CBC's The Early Edition this morning, and he cited major funding decreases and the federal government withdrawing dollars from arts and culture investments.
Well, unfortunately, it's been it's kind of a perfect storm right now. We've had rising costs. Everybody's well aware of that in their private lives, but it's in particular impacted in the event sector coming out of COVID and sort of pressures on all fronts with respect to escalating costs. And we've had a significant pullback on government support. We had our federal partners stepped away entirely from the project this past year in 2025, having been funding us previously $250,000 a year before, $450,000 a year before that. And our provincial government, even though they've been a long-time supporter of the event, going back to when we took it over in 2010, that funding contribution of $250,000 has been flat for 15 years, which right. When you factor in inflation, really means it's about 40% down. And then going into 2026, they were going to cut it from 250 down to 100. So it's just a perfect storm of rising costs and declining revenues, and it's just untenable to continue. Unfortunately, we've had extraordinary times with COVID, and then just inflationary pressures and government kind of pulling back from supporting arts and culture in the way that we kind of need them to, and that's really unfortunate and disappointing.
Organizers say the Celebration of Light brings in 1.3 million people to see the event from English Bay, Kitsilano, and Spanish Banks. They say that includes 200,000 out-of-region visitors. They also said the event costs about $3 million, and they are $1 million short. Now, the CBC's Amelia John spoke to people in the West End about their feelings on the end of a long-standing Vancouver institution.
They're canceling it indefinitely? That's messed up.
Financial problems.
That's really sad. That breaks my heart because it's one of the things that I love participating in every year. We actually come down every year and get front and center, camp out the entire day on the beach, invite people to come with us, big blanket, and it's an awesome show. So yeah, that's really heartbreaking.
It's been going on for over 30 years and now financial problems. I mean, do you hope there's a way they could figure it out and maybe put something back on in the future, maybe? More help from government and stuff? I don't know.
Of course, I would hope that there's some way that they can make it work. I think that, I can't talk about the economic impacts of it. I'm pretty sure it's a huge stimulator of the economy down here as well, and a big thing for the neighborhood. I think everybody in the neighborhood in these buildings, we look forward to it, to watching it every year. So yeah, of course, you'd want that to be something that somehow they can patch together some money to make that work.
Yes, I used to come every year, but I didn't know that it's going to be canceled, that it shouldn't be canceled, really, because I really love it. Everyone just come here. Yes, there's tons of people.
That stinks. I'm just visiting for the week, but that stinks for everyone. I hate when things get canceled like that. That's rough.
It's a huge event. Obviously, I think 300,000 people come down here and they all pack together. So as a visitor, does that kind of bum you out?
Yeah, it bums me out a little.
Oh, that stinks. That's an interesting comment there. We want to hear from you as well. How big of a loss is the celebration of light to the community? How important are these kinds of public events? How should they be funded? Our numbers again, just hit pound 690 on your cell phone or 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. If you want to email us, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. We're live on TikTok right now as well, so you can leave a comment there. And we'll get to lots of comments already coming in on the phone lines. But right now, let's just go first to our guest. Teri Smith is the Executive Director of the West End Business Improvement Association. Teri, hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just how big of a loss is this?
It's pretty significant. It's really hard to believe. This has been part of so many people's summer traditions. It's a quintessential summer moment in the West End, where we see over 1 million people come into our neighborhood, both from the neighborhood and from outside the region. It's an amazing experience, and our businesses appreciate having folks come into the neighborhood and support them. It's been particularly challenging for business over the last few years, I'm sure everyone knows. So it's a moment for us to come together and celebrate and create important memories.
We heard the commenter there say they couldn't comment on the economic impact, but you can. Do you have a sense of that impact, the role that it plays to the finances of those businesses in the West End?
Absolutely. It is significant. I don't have exact numbers to share, but I do know that it's an important driver, not only just at the local level, but it is an economic driver for our city and a tourism driver. So to see something like this be canceled, we're going to see a lot of impacts to our business community and beyond because of it.
What are your thoughts on how it should be funded moving forward?
It's difficult. We're involved with a lot of events. We're a longtime supporter and sponsor of this event, as we are with others. And this isn't just the only example of arts and cultural programming being canceled because of funding constraints and the higher costs associated with the production of events and festivals. So it really has to be a combination. There has to be government funding at all levels. There has to be private sponsorship. And otherwise, our cities are going to lose such important, vital events and festivals that contribute significantly to communities and economic and tourism.
Our phones are ringing off the hook. My guest is Teri Smith, Executive Director of the West End Business Improvement Association. If you want to weigh in on what kind of loss this means for the community and how important these public events are, how they should be funded, you can still give us a call, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. Our email, bctoday@cbc.ca, and we are live on TikTok. Simone is calling from Vancouver. Hi, Simone. How are you feeling about this news?
I'm devastated. To me, it's the highlight of the summer. I go every year, and now with the grandstands, it's great. I usually treat a friend for her birthday to sit in the stands and watch the celebration of light. And I'm devastated because it's the highlight of the summer for me.
Simone, thank you so much. I think it is a highlight for so many people and also a rite of passage, right? A lot of teenagers go there as their first big event. I have memories of that for sure. Terry is calling us now from Vancouver as well. Hi, Terry.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. How are you?
I'm good, but very, very disappointed that this is happening. I was at the BARC board meeting where Ray Greenwood, who started the Celebration of Light years and years ago, came and the park board approved it. It was a great event. The thing that's so good about it is obviously what the previous Terry said about the business impact, but also about bringing people together, multicultural. It's like amazing. You want to be around people for an event like that, to be together, to experience it. And it's like looking at the full moon, only it's like looking at the full moon with these amazing fireworks. It's just a loss. And I think, hey, we're saving $120 million. Most people don't think we need to do that. We should put $1 million towards this production because it's worth it. It's the best things in life are free, and they should be free for once for the people of Vancouver and the surrounding area.
Terry, thank you very much for your call. Let's go to Victoria now. And Doug is calling us about the cancellation of the celebration of light fireworks. Hi, Doug. What are your thoughts?
Hi. Well, I think that it is a shame to have it just cut off like that. However, on a better note, I think it's an opportunity to renew something like this in a better way. And I totally agree that public-private collaboration to fund it is great. But I want to point out that fireworks are incredibly damaging with the heavy metals they spread out. And the people that make them in China typically don't survive more than 3 years on the job. So let's renew this in a modern, better way. Light show, holograph, drones, whatever it is.
Doug, really interesting point. Thank you very much. I know that the organizer, the producer, Paul Reynolds, was asked about drones this morning on the early edition, and he acknowledged that they are an increasing trend when it comes to these shows, but it wasn't a factor here. But interesting point there about fireworks and the damage ecologically. Let me go back to you, Terry. There's that, but as well, over the years we've heard how they can this event in particular can raise the ire among West End residents because of the disruption. So many people crammed into English Bay. May there be people who may be sighing some relief today?
Of course. I mean, whenever you're bringing more than 1 million people into a neighborhood, it can certainly have impacts. The road closures can be inconvenient to deal with. The garbage, on the beaches and on the streets, which does get cleaned up quite quickly. And of course, there's a lot of pet owners out there, and fireworks can certainly cause some concern for pets, even the vibrations of them. So yeah, of course, there's always going to be folks on the other side of the equation that, this is a positive thing, and there is the environmental impact as well. Although I will say I don't know what could replace fireworks that has that same impact. We've seen the addition of the drone show in the last couple of years, and to me it doesn't have the same impact. So I don't know what you could replace it with.
On the topic of pets, we do have an email from Michael. The noise terrifies pets. Burning chemicals land in the water, on the beach or buildings. You see drunken fights, urination and defecation in laneways and gardens. So the cost, as you say, of cleanup and security as well is a point to look at there. So, Terry, you talked about a bigger role for private sponsorships here. I mean, is that where the pressure needs to be now? The pressure that the organizers say would like to place is on federal and provincial governments, saying it's up to them whether this comes back after 2026. What kind of role do you see for the government or for private sponsorship?
Again, it really has to be a partnership, and we need to see investment from government and private sector. So I don't want to put it all on either or. We know that the economic climate right now is very challenging. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. So we have seen, private sponsors have to claw back a little bit on their own budgets. And, just given what's going on at the government levels and some of the main priorities that we're facing, municipally, provincially, federally, we're seeing cuts. And it always seems that arts and culture, despite all of the studies that show how significant it is in terms of bringing economic and tourism impacts to communities and cities, it's the first thing to go. And so it really is a partnership between the both, and also private citizens. There has been different methods introduced into the festival in terms of paid options, so for the grandstands or for some of the more elevated experiences, and so maybe expanding that as well. But again, it's a huge shortfall, and it's hard to make that up. So I don't envy Brand Live, and I totally understand their decision, but it is devastating, and we are going to feel it in the West End.
Yeah, and I do wonder how justifiable it would be to taxpayers, for example, if you're looking at federal, provincial governments with these record deficits, whether fireworks, where that falls on the list of priorities. Terry's writing us from Enderby. In this time, when every level of government is cutting back, a fireworks display is the last thing public funds should be going toward. The organizers should start a crowdfunding campaign and let those who want it to go on, put their money where their mouth is, or let the BIA pass the hat among their members, the prime beneficiaries of this event. Could BIA members make up for the gap there?
Well, we are a sponsor.
You are a
of the
sponsor.
festival.
Yeah.
We are. We have been for a number of years, and we did step up last year to provide additional funding because of the shortfall. But again, we have a lot of other priorities as well, events and festivals, and promoting and marketing the area is one aspect of what we do. But there's many other things in terms of safety, public safety, revitalization, advocacy. So we have to split our dollars to where it's most needed, and we could not make up that shortfall. That is not how much our budget is. But we will contribute as much as we can, as we have in the past.
TikTok comments coming in too. Jeffrey writes, I think it's good. Perhaps drone shows instead. Jay writes, if you're going to ban fireworks, you need to ban it for all holidays and events, not be selective. Okay, so it's not a ban on fireworks, but the end of, well, I guess you're talking about a ban on fireworks in the city, but looking at all holidays and events there as well. That's an interesting point, Jay. Thank you very much. We have Suki on the line in Vancouver. Hi, Suki.
Hi. Vancouver really has to remember who it is and what really makes it. And the Festival of Lights is very important. English Bay is particularly squeezed because for years the city hasn't looked after the trees, the cliffs, the views, around, let's say, Cameron Avenue, the stairs that are closed, or all these viewpoints where people used to gather. The area has just not been cared for. There wouldn't be the pressure on English Bay if the City and Parks Board cared about all the way along, so everybody in Vancouver could enjoy the views.
Okay, Suki, thank you. An email now from Richard. I'm so sad to hear about the fireworks not going off this year. I have very fond memories, and it is a yearly summer event for our family to go to every year. I hope they get funding of some kind, federal funding, for this great event. Richard, thank you. Our email address is bctoday@cbc.ca. Our next caller is Michael in Victoria. Hi, Michael. Your thoughts on the celebration of light fireworks?
Hi, I'm actually from Victoria, but I go over to visit my daughter who lives in the area where the fireworks are. Or I was there this year. And I just felt it was like some antiquated thing that we're doing. Like the noise was unbelievable. Primarily the noise. And I just think it can't be good for the wildlife, the sea life that lives in the area. I've seen whales through that area and seals and just a ton of sea life. And it just cannot be good for the sea life. It also can't be good for the environment, generally, global warming, so on and so forth. An earlier caller mentioned people who work and create the fireworks. And I just thought, wouldn't it be nicer to have a whole summer's worth of like open, free arts going on, music, dance, performance, all kinds of things all along those areas around the water. And it would employ local musicians. It's sort of our response to, the way we used to do things. Well, this could be a new response where we employ our own people, we bring them out, and we gradually have people and invite them to celebrate our arts and culture along the water throughout the whole summer. Anyway, that's my thought.
Very interesting point and suggestion there. Teri, you had talked about other cultural events as well that are important to the West End. And so if we're looking to the future, what kinds of events might play a greater role in bringing that vibrancy and that economic boost to the neighborhood?
Well, I think it's important to recognize there's different scales of festivals and events and programming. And so while the Honda Celebration of Light is, pinnacle event, it is a very large scale festival, and it does employ thousands of people. So there is that excellent economic driver there, not to mention what happens in the neighborhood. But it's hard to say that programming throughout the summer would have that same impact. We do a lot in terms of our programming and placemaking. We have 2 public spaces, 1800 Davie Plaza, which is adjacent to English Bay, as well as Jim Diva Plaza, where we do put in free cultural programming. There's markets that happen, there's live music. We have lots of different things that are happening to diversify what goes on in the neighborhood. So we really need to look at how we are going to move forward and what we can do to replace this signature event in the summer. Pride is another one that had a huge impact when it left the neighborhood. We worked very hard to get that back, and we had that back in August of this year. And I'm telling you, the economic impact of that event for one day was huge for our Davie Village businesses. And so that just goes to show, the scale of an event. It definitely plays an important role in the economics.
Teri, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Teri Smith is Executive Director of the West End Business Improvement Association. I'm going to pause now for our TV audience. We'll see you back here in 2 minutes for the ad break. And right now, let's take one more call on this. Keith on the line in Vancouver. Hi there, Keith. Keith on the line now in Vancouver. Good afternoon.
One thing that I keep hearing all the time since I've lived here in Vancouver is the no fun city moniker. Granted, Vancouver does not make it easy, I think, necessarily to have fun with venues closing down, all that kind of thing. But the thing is, Vancouver is not Montreal or Toronto. I'm no expert. I have been to both cities, but I don't think the hiking is nearly as good here unless you want to summit Mount Royal or the mountain at Canada's Wonderland. So it's a trade-off. The kind of party scene doesn't really exist here as it does there. Infrastructure, I mean, with the money to a lot of people, the other thing I keep hearing is that, solve homelessness, fix the infrastructure, public art. The thing is, you can have public art and work at, reducing homelessness and infrastructure in the city, but you can also have fun events like this. Lastly, one thing that I think is around in Vancouver is there is some money, and there's large organizations, there's large grocery store chains that, if they want to be a hero, not to say that to drop $1 million, but between 2 organizations, there have been public partnerships as well with, I think it was Toyota is a presenting sponsor. But, what is 300, between 3 organizations, a couple, $500,000 each?
That idea
be a hero. Keep this going if you want it to keep going. At the same time, I do see it's kind of interesting that they're so divisive, fireworks colorful and exciting, but I do get it with animals. I love dogs and cats and, the pollution the gentleman said there. So there's those angles as well. I see both sides.
You see both sides. Keith, thank you very much. What a good summary of this discussion. This is BC Today. It's now just about 12:30. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thanks for being with us. Lots of emails that are coming in on the celebration of light fireworks being canceled indefinitely. We'll go through those more of those emails for you for tomorrow's show as well. And coming up in our next half hour, we're going to talk to the mayor of Kitimat, Phil Germuth, and we'll touch on this new campaign. It's a recruitment campaign trying to entice people to move to Kitimat, but also saying it's not for everyone. So we're going to talk to him about that and ask you, what are your own stories of moving to a new community in BC? And what are the quirks that actually have you loving it there? So we'll take your calls on that coming up in our next half hour. Right now, it is time for a CBC News update. And here's Liam Britton.
Good afternoon. From Ottawa to Edmonton to Victoria to BC's North Coast and beyond, speculation and reaction to an expected grand bargain between the federal and Alberta governments on energy and the environment, which could see a new oil pipeline to the Pacific, is coming from many corners. In this province, we're hearing from Haisla First Nation and elected officials in Kitimat speaking against the idea. And BC's energy minister says his government has still not been briefed on details, while the opposition Conservatives have been advocating for pipelines. An announcement on an energy deal is expected tomorrow. And homicide charges have been laid after a woman's body was found in a burning car in Delta last month. 30-year-old Mandeep Kaur was pronounced dead at the scene. And now, Delta police say Kaur's 24-year-old brother-in-law, Gurjeet Kaira, has been charged with second-degree murder and indignity to human remains. He remains in custody. And police have confirmed a 49-year-old man from Surrey was killed in Monday's crash that forced the closure of the Trans-Canada Highway near Lytton. A 38-year-old driver of another truck from Chilliwack suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of the crash is still under investigation, and it led to a many hours closure of the highway. And those are your CBC News headlines from Vancouver.
Liam, thank you very much. Do you have a memory of the Vancouver fireworks?
I haven't been in many years, but it's a disappointing thing to hear. My daughter's just turning 5, so we were really thinking that next summer could be the first year we take her for very late night fireworks.
Yeah, she could actually stay up.
Yeah.
That would be her first experience. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been in many years, but certainly remember, especially as a teenager, being able to go down with my group of friends. And my son, actually, who's a teenager, he's gone with his own friends, which really reminded me. And you can also, there's people going into Vancouver, but also being able to watch it from other vantage points, right? In West Van or in Burnaby up on the mountain there. So it's not just people going to Vancouver who do enjoy them. So it is a loss and an interesting discussion around the funding of these events.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry to your daughter. You'll have to find another summer event.
I know. Fortunately, there are only 2,000 or 3,000 in Vancouver every year, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, hopefully she can stay up for all of them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Liam. Liam Britton in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. We actually do have a lot of emails coming in on that. Dana writes, I need to say I am one of the people not disappointed. I've lived in the West End and had to deal year after year with very distressed pets. The fireworks noise is very scary for animals. It can be traumatic for veterans. And 3 shows every summer, plus Canada Day, New Year's, I found the fireworks get to be too much. They are not eco-friendly or safe for the climate. It's time to move on to something cleaner, safer, and create an opportunity for us to gather together in a new way. Really good to hear from you, Dana. Thank you. BC Today at cbc.ca. $12:33 now. You're with BC Today. Well, what makes you want to move to a new city or town? If you're looking for a fresh change, a change of scenery, or a fresh start, you may want to consider Kitimat. The District of Kitimat is looking to attract new residents, and their campaign, though, is cheeky and honest. It starts with the line, Kitimat, BC, it's not for everyone.
Ah, Kitimat, a town like no other. Alas, Kitimat is not for everyone. It is 650 kilometers from Vancouver, as the proverbial crow flies, and a whopping 2,200 nautical leagues from Sydney, Australia. But, my friend, it's a mere 35-minute drive to the Northwest Regional Airport. And from there, the world really is your oyster. Oysters. Also, not for everyone.
But the ad does go on to say Kitimat is for some people, and it highlights Kitimat's distinct character and the opportunity it offers for people and their families. Well, we'll talk to the mayor in a second, and we're asking you, do you have your own stories about moving to a new town or new city in BC? What made you want to make that move? And tell us about your favorite quirks about your new community, your adopted community. Call us now. Just hit pound 690 on your cell phone or dial 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. That's 604-669-3733. You can just hit pound 690 on your phone as well, or email bctoday@cbc.ca. And as always, we are watching your comments on TikTok. And joining me now for more on this is Phil Germuth, the mayor of Kitimat. Good afternoon, Mayor. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Good afternoon to you too.
Well, you are very busy, and I do want to know, we'll spend the half hour on this recruitment campaign. I do need to ask you, though, about a different topic first off. Your office issued a statement just this morning. This is about tomorrow's expected memorandum of understanding between the federal and Alberta governments that would set conditions for a pipeline from Alberta to BC's coast. The statement said that you and the chief of the Haisla First Nation met with Alberta Premier Danielle Smith yesterday. What did you say to her, and what was her response?
So yeah, the meeting really had nothing to do with the MOU, to be honest. It's something I was thinking of earlier this year, of course, when the tariffs came in, and Canada had said, we want to work together as Canada to start finding other markets for our resources. So it actually came up many months ago. It just turned out it happened to be yesterday. But really, the meeting was about introducing Premier Smith to Kitimat. It's just letting her know what we have to offer, giving her our history, and some of the benefits of Kitimat, and being, of course, one of only 3 ports on the west coast of Canada. So the meeting went very well. There was no specific project or product talked about. This was really just a first meeting to let them know, hey, Kitimat's here, and to invite her out here. Earlier last month, her Minister of Indigenous Affairs was up here in Kitimat for another event. So we got to meet her and make that first connection.
Surely,
on, what Kitimat has to offer.
Surely this must have been on your mind, though. The statement says, over a decade ago, the community of Kitimat voted to oppose the Northern Gateway project. The Haisla Nation, who were firmly against that proposal at that time, still maintain that same position today regarding an oil pipeline and export facility in their community, in their territory, rather. And this position was articulated clearly to Premier Smith during the meeting.
Yeah, it wasn't, the meeting had really nothing to do with an oil pipeline, to be totally honest. We talked about natural gas, we talked about ammonia, we talked about food products, we talked about ethylene polymers. We just thought it was good to have that one statement in there. Ours is just, that was over a decade ago that vote was there. Who knows what might come up in the future. We wouldn't say yes or no to anything beforehand. You at least want to see what's on the table. So it was more of a meeting just to get to know each other and just to introduce her to Kitimat, and that hopefully, we might be able to help our closest province to us get some of their products offshore.
Are you open to an oil pipeline to the coast?
I can't say open. I'd say we would look at anything to at least give something its first chance. Technology has changed, things have changed. So personally, I just wouldn't say no to anything before I actually just saw something in front of me. If the project was done the same way the Northern Gateway project was done, well, then chances are it's going to be a no. But are there different ways of doing things? Or we would at least look at something. Let's put it that way. We're as concerned as anybody else is about the coast and some of the challenges that may come with some projects. But we'll look at anything to at least see and go from there.
Will you be watching tomorrow then for this expected announcement?
We'll see. It's just an MOU, right? It's we'll see where that goes. It's
okay.
Let's be honest. If a federal government decides a project is in the nation's interest, it doesn't matter what we say anyway, right? They can put it through. So, in that case, if something like that were to happen, which I don't think it would, then, our job would be to work as hard as we can to make sure it's going to be the safest project on earth. But, like I said, we're not saying yes or no to anything. We'd have to see something in front of us.
My guest is Kitimat Mayor Phil Germuth. It sounds like we'll be talking to you again tomorrow. Again, we are expecting this announcement of an MOU between the Alberta government and Ottawa on the possibility of a new pipeline, conditions for a new pipeline to the BC coast. We'll bring you full coverage of that tomorrow on this program. We'll take your calls as well. Right now, we do have the mayor here to talk about this recruitment campaign, and we're taking your calls on what's brought you to a community in BC, what made you want to make the move, and what are the quirks, the distinct characteristics of that community that made you want to stay. Our number is 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, or pound 690 on your cell phone. And so, Mayor Germuth, what about this campaign? It certainly made me laugh as I watched it. What inspired it?
That's great. And that's exactly what it was meant to do, right? To also, the new campaign, Kitimat BC, it's not for everyone, is about increasing national awareness of Kitimat by highlighting some of our unique attributes. And it stemmed out of, the project was started back in 2020 by the District of Kitimat and our Chamber of Commerce. And so the 3-year marketing campaign is really made possible. It was made possible through funding through the government of British Columbia and Northern Development Initiative Trust. And really, we want to be able to promote the community. And like any community, we're looking for doctors, nurses, school teachers, firefighters, policemen, tradespeople. And, I think once people really see Kitimat and get a feel for it, they fall in love with the place. The very first thing, Kitimat was created by industry and for industry, right? So I think you kind of have that stigma that people might think, oh, it must be dirty and smelly. But when people get here for the first time, the very first thing they say is they can't believe how beautiful and clean it is. And then for those who stay, the first thing they end up learning is just how safe a community it is to raise your family. So we want to put that out there about all the good things about Kitimat too, because there's way more good things than there are things that you might want to consider a perceived challenge. But, and I think doing it with a sense of humor is a great idea. It's, with all the negativity out there these days, it's if you can have something out there that not only has somebody at the end learning more about Kitimat, but has a smile on their face, then I think we've succeeded.
Let's take some calls now, asking people about their own experiences moving to a new community in BC and what are the quirks that made you want to stay. Jean is calling from Abbotsford. Hi, Jean.
Yes, hi. How are you?
I am just fine. Yes. Do you want to talk about Abbotsford?
Yeah, I moved here around 8 years ago. The drugs never were really as bad as they are now. I just don't want to stay here because it's become a very violent place.
Oh, you're looking to move away. Okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I just feel it's unsafe to live here. And I'm not in an older generation, right? So I've seen, older people being attacked here. And, other older people in a shopping mall where these kids just pushed her over. And she's in her 60s.
Yeah. So have you been thinking, are you thinking about Kitimat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us about that.
Well, I'd like to know if there are, many jobs there, stuff like that. What's it actually like? 'Cause I've never been there. So I was going to do some research and find out.
Oh, there you go. And so you've been prompted to consider Kitimat and look further into it. Well, we have the mayor here, Jean. Thank you very much. Okay, Mayor Germuth, make your case for Jean then.
Yes. Yeah, Kitimat is number one. It is, as I said, the first thing people notice once they move here is just how safe it is. Extremely safe community, fairly low cost of living. The average price of a house is around 4.5 times cheaper than a house is in Vancouver. And it's a very tight-knit community, and people are extremely friendly no matter who you see out, whether you know them or not. Everybody's going to say, hey, hi, how's it going? And jobs-wise, if you have a skill set and you have you have a skill set and you're good at it, Kitimat is a great place to come. We have very high wages up here due to the local industry. So it's you can make a very good living for yourself up here and have a very safe living for you and your family. If you can find the right job, and there's lots of jobs for trades. Like I said, if you're a doctor, nurse, be it a mechanic, a plumber, it's there's lots of jobs for people with skill sets up here.
There you go, Jean. Thank you very much for your question. And Artie is next now in Richmond. And I think this is also a comment about considering Kitimat. Hi there, Artie.
Oh, hi, thanks. I was there this summer, Mayor. I was on a trip that started in Prince Rupert and finished in Kitimat. And it was just wonderful being up in the Great Bear Sea and so many whales and other marine life, and it was just so peaceful, and I loved it. I love both places, Prince Rupert and Kitimat. It's my first time to the Northwest, and it was a little bit hard. I understand it's an industry town, and that's fine. We see the LNG terminal, I guess, when you pull into port there, which is fine. But with all this talk of a oil pipeline and those beautiful waters, oh my God! Like we were 12 days on a sailboat, motorized sailboat, and I just couldn't imagine anything happening to spoil the environment there. And I'm pretty upset. So I don't know. It's the mayor. I understand you're trying to attract people and people need good jobs, but I'd say please don't have an oil pipeline and destroy that beautiful, pristine region, because if that goes ahead, we would move somewhere else, even though it's so beautiful, because we can't support something like that on our fragile coast. So thank you. Bye.
Artie, thank you very much. Okay, so how much is that a consideration there? You mentioned how people see Kitimat as an industry town. Given the concerns Artie's raised there, how much is that a consideration as you look at the potential for something like an oil pipeline?
Are you asking me or?
Yes, Mayor Germuth, pardon me. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So there's no doubt we market ourselves and define ourselves as a marvel of nature and industry, and we truly are. So I couldn't see the community ever wanting to support something that could, greatly put at risk of the beautiful nature that we have here. It's why one of the reasons people fall in love with this place when they're here. So, there is no proposed project at all right now, of course. And so all we can do is wait and see what might happen. But we're not going to be willing to, jeopardize what we have up here in any way, shape, or form.
What's it been like trying to balance that? Because you do have the LNG terminal there, trying to balance developing industry and the concerns people have about what that means for the beauty of the area.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, the support for LNG that's here, which was great support and still is, and the difference between that and the former Northern Gateway project, right? It wasn't that there was a pipeline or ships, it was the product, right? And that's where the challenge comes in. So, looking at LNG, of course, if it happens it'll just dissipate into the atmosphere, so that was an easy project to support. Whereas, of course, back in the day, the way the Northern Gateway was proposed, that was seen to be, community was a majority of the community was non-supportive of that project. So LNG Canada and LNG period is a much safer project. And, we'd welcome another opportunity to look at another opportunity and see how they're willing to run their facility.
James is on the line now in Prince George about moving to a new community in BC and what quirks have kept you there. Hi, James.
Yeah, hi. Let me preface it by saying, I moved from the prairies to the coast, and I was living in Vancouver. And when I was there, it was, and, this is going back, 30 years ago. It was relatively, in comparison to things, it was livable on a decent income. But I had coworkers there that were literally driving an hour and a half a day into work and then back out again. And, I was lucky enough to be working for a fairly large company. And, they were really clear to me at the beginning of the job, even though I started off in Vancouver, that, the pathway was their operations are up in the north, and I'd be moving north at some point. And, I think if it hadn't been for that, I probably would have been, doing things in Vancouver for quite a long time. But I was able to explore the province working for this company. I was actually in Kitimat a fair bit, doing work at Hurricane, flying in and out periodically. Beautiful community. And I ended up being moved up to Quesnel to help start up a new MDF plant. And, it was a bit of culture shock for me, but boy, was it affordable. And coming from the prairies, cross-country skiing is amazing. You've got to tolerate a bit of snow, but boy, the lifestyle was great. Cost of living was great. And ended up moving to Prince George. And, I'm really cautious about actually telling how good it is up here because we don't want a bunch of jerks moving up, right?
Spill the beans, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's affordable. It's property values have gone up with a lot of the other real estate trends in the province, but there's no way I could be living the way that I am living right now in the Lower Mainland with any level of comfort or certainty.
Sure.
And I talk to friends in the Lower Mainland regularly, and they're regularly getting rent evicted. And just even having a solid place to live for somebody on a normal income is absolutely brutal. There's no chance of a mortgage, and if you're renting, you're at the whim of somebody else. So it's a good move. And we've got things like UNBC up here that are just fantastic. I got my master's degree at UNBC when I was, trying to work full time for a living, and it made it possible. So yeah, I've got nothing but good stuff to say for getting out of that grind down there. Traffic up here is absolutely, nothing compared. I was down there on business a few weeks ago, and I'll tell you, driving down to Vancouver is a lot different than up here.
Yeah, yes, that is very true. James, thank you so much for your story. Wow, that was so interesting. And Mayor Germuth, yes, the cost of living. How much does that factor into your campaign and your case for getting people to move to Kitimat?
Yeah, James brings up some excellent points about living in the north and smaller communities. Our cost of living here is very low compared to Vancouver. As I mentioned, a house in Vancouver is 4.5 times as much as it is here. We have very low taxes in Kitimat because we're so fortunate to have a large industrial tax base. For a town of just over 9,000 people, we have 2 ice rinks. We have a beautiful recreation facility, the Sam Lindsay Memorial Pool, in which people from other neighboring towns actually come to use our facilities at our pool. So we're very fortunate over the years that we've had industry here and what it's brought to the community. And that's part of the reason why I think you have a community that does support industry when it's done properly, is because we realize all the benefits that it's brought us and the high quality of living that you have up here, the very high wages, again, with the low cost of housing. It really is a unique place. And, we'd love to have more people kind of take a look at us. And I believe that they would see what one of the other callers had said there previous, that they could see how beautiful Kitimat was. And when you get here, that's exactly the first thing people notice.
Joanne, James, you're going to want to hear this email from Joanne. I was born and raised in Prince George, moved to Vancouver Island. One thing that stood out to me, if you live on the South Coast, you don't get the dramatic changes with the season. Yeah. Anyone looking for a life outdoors for fishing, hunting, camping, hiking, the interior serves as your background playground. Making trips to surrounding quaint towns doesn't need a plan like we have to make to go to Vancouver or even Nanaimo. You don't experience the traffic. Unlike living in cities where you have to plan a trip to a lake or experience the outdoors, when you live in the interior, no planning, just get it within your vehicle. And within 30 minutes, you are at a lake. No traffic gridlock. Smithers close by. This is such a pretty town. Cobble walkways, European storefronts. With climate change, it is unlikely you'll experience snowfalls to the top of the power lines. We did experience that, though, back in the 70s. Joanne, thank you very much for telling us your story as well. BC Today at cbc.ca. Okay, Mayor Germuth, Kitimat is not for everyone. So who is it for?
So basically, well, if you, if you're looking to have a high standard of living, if you have your marketable trade, of course, and you want to make good money and have a very safe place to raise your family, it is definitely for you. If you love the outdoors, it's incredible. So you have so much here. And as one of the other callers mentioned, about being in the Lower Mainland, the time it takes to get anywhere. In Kitimat, really in less than 10 minutes, you could be anywhere. So you could be either out fishing on the Douglas Channel, you could be fishing in the river, you could be on the trails with your snowmobile or hiking trails. There's so many things here to do that have to do with the outdoors and enjoying those outdoors all year round. It's really great for somebody who's looking to do that and looking for a safe place to raise their family and somewhere with a fairly low cost of living.
It's really good to speak to you today, and I imagine we will be speaking in the coming days. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
That's Kitimat Mayor Phil Germuth. It's 12:54 now, and you're with BC Today. Well, every year, CBC British Columbia sets up a fundraiser in support of food banks in the province. It's called Make the Season Kind, and it is an exciting day of special province-wide programming, all designed to support the 111 food banks in BC. Now, you can make a donation right now at cbc.ca/kindbc. cbc.ca/kindbc. You can also text the word kind to 20222. That's 20222. Leading up to the fundraiser, we are hearing stories from British Columbians about how their lives were impacted by a food bank. And take a listen here to Jennifer as she tells us about how food banks have helped her as a single mother.
My name is Jennifer, and I'm a single mom with 2 kids. And food security is a big source of the struggle and anxiety as a single mom. I first started going to the food bank with the birth of my first child. Once a month, they give out a protein for the families, and that is a huge help, and that is 100% through charitable donations that they're able to provide that for us, and that is like a full nutritious meal. Produce is kind of like a bit of a grab bag, but you have to be diligent. You have to, when you are accessing this resource, you have to be prepared to kind of use produce as soon as you get it, so you have to make sure you have the time. As a single mom, the food that I get at the food bank allows me to purchase the other necessary things that there are no reliable sources for. So when I get a meal through the food bank and its donations, that allows me to buy shoes or school supplies or a warm winter coat. And that goes a long way.
Once again, the campaign is called Make the Season Kind. And here's how you can donate. The donation site is open 24/7 until the end of December. So you can go to cbc.ca/kindbc. You'll find the Donate Now button to click on, and you'll find a drop-down menu so you can direct your donation to any of the 111 food banks around the province. Again, that's cbc.ca/kindbc, and click on the Donate Now button. You will receive a tax receipt within a few hours. You can also donate on your phone by texting the word kind to 20222. And do join us next Friday, December the 5th. We will bring you a special 3-hour edition of BC Today from noon to 3, hosted by myself and Margaret Gallagher, who's host of North by Northwest, of course. We will bring you some special guests, live music as well. You can join us here on the CBC Plaza in downtown Vancouver if you are in town, or, of course, tune in to CBC.